I, a 21-year-old, live with my fiancé Simon, a 33-year-old, in a beachfront house. It's a nice but small house. We don't own the beach, but multiple acres of land that border the beach. The land surrounding us is a nature preserve that is closed off to the general public. When we bought our house, the lots on both sides of our house were for sale and were being advertised as spots for houses. However, Simon and I both hated the idea of our view being blocked. Both properties are naturally beautiful and we see all the way down the shore, so we decided to buy both lots. We have a small public path to the beach, but it's over a quarter of a mile walk. So no one is around us except occasional researchers or other workers for the preserve, but they are usually super busy. We have since built small things like patios and a pool along the lots, but have kept it mostly natural and just made paths for where we need to go. We have fallen in love with our house and our property. My sister, Lindsay, a 30-year-old, loves our property as much as we do. She and her husband, Dale, a 31-year-old, currently rent male 3-bedroom condo for them and their 5 kids. They have extremely limited space and they dream of having a place that they could all spread out and have a yard for their kids. They want to buy a house but can't afford it with house prices in our state. I never really went into specifics with her over buying our house and the land. To be completely honest, I was only 19 when we bought it, and Simon and his family paid for everything. I still don't fully understand the whole buying process myself. In general, my sister and I were never super close because of our age differences too. Anyway, recently, she and her family came to visit. During this visit, she once again brought up how much she adored our land. Simon then told her the story of how we bought the 2 plots on the sides of us so we wouldn't have neighbors. Lindsay lit up at this and looked at Dale before they both looked around our property again. Simon and I both picked up on what was happening before they even asked. They wanted to know if we would consider letting them build a house here. Lindsay went into how good it would be for her kids to grow up here and not in the city. However, Simon and I had already talked about letting our family move here, and we decided against it unless it was our parents. We spent over $5 million buying and doing work on our house and land. We had huge windows installed around our entire house so we can see how pretty everything is outside. We have bird feeders and other feeds set up for wild animals that have since made homes and now basically permanently live here. Simon works from home, and we sit outside all day together while enjoying how peaceful everything is. Neither of us like kids, and we hate the idea of having to share the pool on weekends with kids or having to deal with them during the summer. We just don't want it. We tried explaining this to Lindsay and Dale, but then they explained their side. They live in a super tiny condo with 5 kids, all under the age of 10. They can barely afford rent even though they're both nurses. Their kids can't play outside unless they're with them. But they both work 12-hour shifts 5 days a week. They can afford up to $380,000 for a house, but nothing is worth it for them in their price range. Not enough bedrooms, only 1 bathroom in a super bad area, etc. They found a company in our area that can build a house for $400,000 that would fit all of them comfortably, but they can't afford any land. They're basically miserable in their current life. I feel so bad that it's keeping me up at night now. They cut their stay short by 4 days and went home. They said that they just feel angry looking at us now. They feel like we're being selfish and taking away their chance after finally being able to live a happy life as a family. Lindsay says that she feels so bitter towards me that I would live in such a nice area even if I don't plan on having kids, while mothers like her can't even afford to give their kids their own bedroom. I know that it's selfish of me to want to keep our land to ourselves. I would let them stay here if it was temporary, but it's not. They will live here forever. The views I love, I will never get to see again because it will be blocked by a house that will never move. They would destroy dozens of wildlife homes when I basically invited the wildlife here. Simon and I will never get to experience privacy as a married couple as we do currently. We're planning for our wedding to be on the beach and the reception to be right where their house would have to sit. On top of that, Simon and I both know that we will never receive money for the taxes or for the land that they will live on. Their youngest is only 4 months old, so kids will be here for at least 18 years. They also both work 12-hour shifts. Dale works during the day and Lindsay at night. In the morning, Dale's parents watch the kids from 3 to 10 a.m., and our parents watch the kids from 3 to 10 p.m. This is so that they have time to sleep and get ready for work. There is no way that Lindsay and Dale would expect Simon and me to do this for them. I just know that the peaceful life that we currently have will never be the same again. It will be loud, chaotic, and stressful. But my sister is struggling so much. I just don't really know if I'm in the wrong, and I need to know so I stop feeling so guilty, or if I should just let her. So, am I the antagonist? To add, firstly, I am the legal owner. Simon and I are the only ones that are on the deed. I hired a personal lawyer, and Simon hired his own before we went into the process of buying, especially since it's technically 3 properties and I wasn't paying for them. So my dad wanted to make sure that I was protected. If we were to break up and sell, I would get half of the earnings. I would not be calling it my house or saying I'm the owner if I wasn't. When I lived in Simon's apartment, I called it his apartment. This is not just his house, it is our house. I was there for the entire process of buying it. Almost forgot, I was not groomed or forced to be in a relationship with Simon. When we realized our age difference, he had already met my parents. I lived at home, and he would come in when he picked me up, and my parents supported us even after I found out. By the time we met, I was super advanced for my age. I graduated high school at 15 as valedictorian. I already had an associate's degree and was working towards my bachelor's. I was an intern at a hospital where we met. He's the lead developer for the medical software the hospital uses. We have already gone to couples therapy to make sure that we were on the same page with what we wanted and to make sure that our relationship was healthy. My therapist saw no red flags and said that some of the best couples she knows have age gaps and thrive despite it. He has shown no red flags. He thoroughly involved me in everything we've done. When I couldn't understand going through buying a house, he set up a lunch with my dad to make sure that I at least understood the basics before buying. Everything he has done has shown to me and the people who care about me that he doesn't mean any harm. He has never dated a younger girl before, so it's not like he's some serial dater of young people. We just happen to have an age gap. I don't need lectures telling me to prepare myself for when he leaves or calling me a gold digger, etc. I know the risks, but I also know that I'm in my relationship every day and not some stranger on Reddit telling me that he's a red flag without knowing basically anything. Now for an update. My sister said that she will go no contact with our entire family, our parents included, if she can't move here, and how upset she is that my family supports us living so differently. She went into how she's struggling with kids, but no help, and that I live this fancy life with no kids, but all the support from my parents. My dad wants to just cut her off since they're giving up their retirement to basically run a daycare 5 days a week, and she's complaining that she has no help. I can tell my mom is just hurt by the whole thing, so I don't know. Simon thinks that we should just go no contact and block her on everything. I'm going to make a decision by tonight, though, so we don't have to think about it much again. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, you. I felt bad for them until they cut their visit short by 4 days and were like, I feel angry looking at you. Talk about entitled bratty behavior. Then add 5 children to their bratty parents. It really doesn't matter why you said no. Their reaction to your no tells you all that you need to know. You definitely should not feel guilty for that. Comment 2. So Simon found you when you were 18 or 19 and he was 30, moved you to his $5 million beach house, and now your sister wants to come along for the ride, but she's 30 and has 5 kids and a husband. If I'm Simon, hell no. Your sister isn't moving up here with her family, and you're probably getting replaced with another 18-year-old in a couple of weeks. Now for the update. The day after the whole mess with my sister, I got this text from her that was just full of passive-aggressive comments. Like, seriously, I could feel the sarcasm through the screen. She was going on about how I was out of touch with the family's needs and how I was only focused on what I wanted. Like, excuse me? I work hard for what I have. I forwarded the text to my fiancé, Simon, and he was like, maybe we should have a family dinner and talk this out. I wasn't thrilled about the idea, but I figured a sit-down might help clear the air and keep more drama from happening. So, we set the dinner for the following Saturday at our place and decided to keep it simple with a casual meal. Nothing fancy because, honestly, I didn't want to do anything over the top. The day before the dinner, I was taking out the trash and spotted Dale's car parked nearby. It was weird because he wasn't supposed to be visiting, but I just brushed it off as a coincidence. I was probably overthinking everything, you know? So the night of the dinner comes around, and Lindsay and Dale show up with their 5 kids who immediately start running around our house like it's a playground. I can't even hear myself think. I get us all seated at the table, and during dinner, Lindsay starts up again about their cramped living situation. She makes these pointed comments about how unfair it is for some people to have so much and others to have nothing. Simon tries to steer the conversation back to neutral topics, but she just won't let it go. It's like she's on a mission. Then things get worse when one of the kids knocks over a glass of red wine, spilling it all over Simon's shirt. He gets up to change, and that's when Lindsay starts criticizing my home decor choices. I mean, really? After dinner, the kids are allowed to play in the living room while the adults move to the patio to talk. Lindsay brings up the whole moving in thing again. She insists it would benefit everyone, and I'm just like, no, no, and no. I firmly reiterate our stance, and there's this awkward silence. Not a single person says anything. Then she hits me with accusations of jealousy, claiming I want to keep my success all to myself. It's like she doesn't get that I worked hard for what I've got. Then out of nowhere, Dale speaks up, asking if we could just enjoy the evening without conflict. This only makes Lindsay more angry. Like, seriously, Dale, you're not helping. The argument shifts onto him, and he tries to mediate, but only fuels Lindsay's frustration. I can see he's just trying to help, but he doesn't know what he's doing. So I decide to change the subject. I bring up our recent travel plans, hoping to lighten the mood a bit. But no, Lindsay snaps at me, accusing me of rubbing my lifestyle in her face. It's like she can't have a normal conversation without making accusations. The kids overhear the argument and start crying, which breaks my heart. So I suggest we all take a break. As I'm walking inside to grab dessert, I overhear Lindsay on the phone. She sounds upset, and I catch a snippet of the conversation. She mentions her next move and hints at something big. I'm thinking, what the heck is she planning? After dessert, we put the kids to bed, and the adults return to the living room. Lindsay keeps pushing for a family solution, which leads to a heated exchange with Simon. It's like she's determined to have her way, and I finally snap. I tell her that her demands are unreasonable, and that's the end of that discussion. She storms out with Dale, taking their kids and leaving Simon and me to process the chaos of the evening. The week after that was just as messy. I noticed some strange activity on social media. Lindsay posted a photo of a house listing, and in the caption, she implied she was looking for a bigger home. The way she worded it was like a direct reference to her so-called dream property near us. She even contacted the realtor managing the property, asking for a tour. I found out that the property had this hidden clause that allowed me to claim a portion of it if it was sold to a family member. I was like, what the heck? This was just a huge coincidence, and now I had to deal with the fallout. I decided to approach Lindsay with this info and set the stage for whatever was coming next. At a family event a couple of weeks later, I casually mentioned my house hunting process and dropped hints about the property and its clause. The look on Lindsay's face was priceless. Her eyes widened, and I could practically see the gears turning in her mind. It was like a light bulb moment for her. I can't wait to see how she reacts to this new knowledge. I know this is going to cause even more drama, but honestly, I'm not even mad at it. Edit. After I dropped the hint about the property clause, I noticed Lindsay contacting the realtor more frequently. It was like she was trying to get a feel for the situation and figure out her next move. During this time, our family gatherings became increasingly tense. Lindsay would make these veiled comments about my property, and I could tell she was trying to gauge my reaction. I kept my cool, though. I didn't want to give anything away. Eventually, she decided to put in an offer on the property, but it was significantly lower than the asking price. I think she was trying to test the waters. I had a chat with the realtor, who was baffled by the low offer. I advised him to counter with a price that included the hidden clause. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm sort of rooting for my sister. If she wants to be my neighbor, I guess I can let her. Am I the idiot for confronting my ex-wife about her shady new boyfriend and refusing to sell her the wedding dress? My wife and I divorced about a year ago. However, she had been planning the exit for 2 years prior and had a lawyer since summer 2021. She sprung the divorce on me. In our state, non-marital assets are not divided. Such things as specific gifts to individuals, inheritance, etc., only go to one side. We always kept separate finances. Years ago, I used to make more money than my wife. However, due to a couple of key retirements and union negotiations in her workplace, she got promoted and almost doubled her pay, making about $20,000 more than me per year. This led to arguments about restructuring the household bills, which she never wanted to do. In the spring of 2021, my father passed away from cancer and left me a good chunk of money. In the fall, my wife decided we should use it to start renovating parts of our home. We each agreed to contribute money to the home, but after renovating a bathroom and putting in all new doors and windows, all on my dime, about $19,000, she suddenly changed her mind and wanted to slow down. Over the next year, I brought up a few minor renovations to help finish what we started, which she wanted to do until I asked how much she had in her savings. When we divorced, she officially only had $6,000 in her savings and checking accounts. My lawyer said it was obvious she was hiding money, but the cost of proving it would be more than what I would get. It was also clear that she had me renovate the house to burn into my inheritance. Normally, she couldn't touch it, but since I used it on the house, upping the value, she could now get her cut. I ended up getting the house in the divorce. She was given 6 weeks to retrieve her property from the home, but waited until day 40 of 42 to get anything and left a lot. Most of it was junk, but she did leave some things of value. According to my lawyer, since she failed to retrieve it, it's now mine. It's been a year now, and I'm trying to make room in the home and getting rid of stuff in drawers. I did find a number of things I know she would want and likely thinks she already has. 1. Her emergency money. An envelope with $500 she kept in case something happened. 2. Both her and her mom's wedding dresses. 3. Sentimental jewelry and a jewelry box her grandmother left her that she never wore. 4. Her high-end digital camera. She's actually been asking me to look for it for her. 5. Her grandmother's vintage sewing machine. 6. A pistol given to her by her dad. This is all legally mine now. I could sell all the stuff for likely a few $1,000s, but I feel bad about the family heirlooms. I do think it would serve her right for getting dirty in the divorce, and I would make up a little chunk of what shouldn't have been hers. Perhaps I will let her know I have them and allow her to buy them back at market value, but that also seems cruel. Am I the jerk for considering selling my ex's expensive and sentimental property? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Sell them. She obviously planned ahead and did not seem bothered then. Look at it this way. She took a morally dubious route to get a cut of your inheritance, sell off her belongings to recover it. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Sell them and don't say a word about it to her. If she asks, you don't know where they are, which will be true, and you're sure they're not in the house, also true. Now for the update. It's been 1 day since I found a ton of my ex-wife's stuff in the house. I started sorting through the items, and I'm really unsure what to do with some of the family heirlooms. I found this wedding dress packed tightly in a box with a note from my ex about how much it meant to her. Okay, I guess it meant a lot, but we both know how this ended, right? Anyway, I noticed the digital camera had photos still on it, including memories of our wedding day. So I decided to reach out to her, wanting to discuss the items I found, you know, like an adult. I sent her a text explaining I found her things and asked if she wanted to come by to pick them up. She replied quickly, saying she would come over the next evening to collect her stuff. I spent the day cleaning the house because, let's be honest, it needed it. I wanted to make it presentable for her visit, mostly just to be polite. The next evening she arrived, and I could see she was surprised at how much stuff was still here. I mean, it was a lot. I basically had a small mountain of her stuff in the living room. We started talking about the items, and she felt nostalgic for a few of them. She particularly wanted the family heirloom sewing machine, which had belonged to her grandmother. She suggested we could negotiate a buyback for items that meant something to her. I mentioned the wedding dress and asked if she wanted to take it back. She hesitated and then asked if I would sell it to her instead. We agreed on a price for the dress, and she promised to pay me later. Yeah, we'll see about that. As she was leaving, she mentioned her new boyfriend, who I had never heard of before. I asked her about him, and she said they had been dating for a few months. She mentioned he was supportive and helped her through the divorce. Later that night, I got a call from my brother who wanted to catch up. During our chat, he mentioned he had seen my ex out with someone at a local bar recently. I asked him for details, and he said the guy seemed very close to her. The next day, my brother invited me over for dinner with his family. At dinner, he casually brought up my ex's new boyfriend, calling him a good guy. My brother then revealed that the boyfriend used to work with my ex at her old job. I started piecing together the timeline of when she met him. My brother had no idea about my suspicions and was just trying to share good news. I decided to investigate further and looked up the boyfriend online. To my shock, I found out he had a history of messy relationships. I approached my ex about this new info, and she seemed defensive. She insisted she was happy and that I should focus on my own life. A few days later, I got a text from her saying she had decided not to buy back the wedding dress. The next morning, my brother called me again. He said he had some news about my ex that he thought I should know, and let's just say it was news I wasn't exactly thrilled to hear. Edit. My brother informed me that my ex has been seeing her new boyfriend for over a year. They were dating before our divorce. My brother learned this from a mutual friend who knows the boyfriend. I realized her dating history may have contributed to her decision not to buy back the wedding dress. Am I the idiot for cutting off my brother and sister-in-law after they ruined my wedding and ignored my invitations? I am taking a lot of flack from my brother and other family members for not including my sister-in-law, Jennifer, in any family events that my husband and I host. I am upset because I feel like I shouldn't invite people who clearly don't care or want to be there anyway. Firstly, I'd like to give some context on the dynamic of my family. I come from a huge family. My mom is the oldest of 6 siblings who all have 3 or more kids, and my dad is the youngest son of 10 siblings who all also have between 2 and 6 kids themselves. I have 1 set of living grandparents on my dad's side and lots of great aunties and uncles still alive on my mom's side. I myself am the oldest of 9, and we are all approximately 10 to 18 months apart in age. I have 5 sisters and 3 brothers. I am close with and get along with all of them, for the most part outside of normal sibling squabbles, with the exception of 1 sister, Sarah, 28 years old, who has chosen a life of drugs over her own children. 7 of my siblings have children and families of their own, and we get together frequently, taking turns on who is hosting events for various holidays, birthdays, and other celebrations. Last year was both incredible and very sad. My dad passed away suddenly, under some tragic and horrible circumstances that left our family shaken and devastated, a mere 6 weeks before my wedding. I was my dad's power of attorney while he was hospitalized, and I am the one who had to sign the paperwork to take him off of life support. My paternal grandparents both walked me down the aisle on my wedding day in my dad's place. The day was bittersweet, but overall lovely. This issue is about my brother, Troy, and his wife, Jennifer. They are generally very quiet and introverted and do not host gatherings unless it involves their daughter specifically, the baby shower, her birth and birthdays, etc. This is fine, and we don't usually make a fuss over this because that's sort of just the way Troy is and always has been. But he usually attends the events that they're not hosting. But I've noticed a pattern, and I'm really upset by this. When our dad passed, Troy left the service immediately after he did the viewing, and Jennifer did not come into the funeral home at all. She sat in the car and texted him so often that our grandmother actually got upset and asked if he could please set his phone on vibrate, out of respect for everyone else in attendance. He refused and obnoxiously kept texting his wife throughout the first few minutes of the service until he was finally asked to step outside to take the call so as to not disrupt the eulogy that our grandfather was making. Troy sort of shrugged his shoulders, hugged our mother, and then left. Like he literally went home, and he was supposed to be a pallbearer with our other brothers, uncle, grandpa, and his nephew, our dad's eldest grandson, but he literally just left and went home. I understood this, and so did the rest of our family, because we figured that it was just too overwhelming for him and he had to leave. Now on to the wedding. I'd like to note that the only reason why my husband and I didn't postpone was that my dad would have been incredibly upset with us for postponing on his account. We actually took an anonymous vote with my family on this exact subject. So we went ahead and honored Dad by having our officiant talk about him before the ceremony. When my husband and I got engaged, I asked most of my sisters and Jennifer to be bridesmaids and was going to have my chosen sister, aka my best friend, to be my maid of honor. I then asked Jennifer and Troy if their daughter could be my flower girl. Everyone gladly accepted. Troy and Jennifer were over the moon with excitement about their little girl being a flower girl, and all was well, or so it seemed. About 3 months before the wedding, during our second dress fitting, Troy suddenly texted me and said that Jennifer didn't want to be a bridesmaid, that she never wanted to be one in the first place, and that she didn't know how to say no to me when I first asked, and that she really hated the idea of doing bridesmaid activities, and that she absolutely refused to wear the dress that she picked out herself. She then said that she might not even attend, and that she was even thinking about not allowing Cindy to be my flower girl. I was crushed because my husband and I had paid for all of the wedding expenses ourselves, including the entire wedding party's dresses and suits. Thankfully, my parents convinced them. They offered a large sum of money to still allow Cindy to be in the wedding party. The day of the wedding, Jennifer refused to allow our hairdresser to do Cindy's hair and did it herself. She just threw my niece's hair in a ponytail and refused all offers for help. And then she allowed my niece to go barefoot during the aisle walk. As soon as Cindy's part was finished, as soon as she got to the front of the chapel and before the officiant even began speaking, Troy scooped Cindy up and left, with Jennifer following closely behind. She even took the flower girl basket with her. I didn't notice until after the ceremony, and it was time for pictures when my grandmother told me that she saw my brother take Cindy to the restroom. I called Troy, asking where Cindy was because it was time for the photo shoot. Jennifer answered the call and said, "She's with us. We left." Again, I was absolutely crushed, but I didn't want that to ruin my day, so I made excuses and just dropped it for the time being. Ever since then, I've tried inviting them to other family events such as my oldest son's high school graduation party, his 18th birthday party, Thanksgiving. It was my turn to host that year, etc. And every single time I'm left on read or the RSVP goes unanswered and they do not attend. To be fair, they also don't attend some of our other siblings' events either. But this feels incredibly personal because they made the effort to travel across the province to attend our youngest brother's birthday party this past June. So now I've decided to stop expecting them to come and have even stopped inviting them to things that I host altogether. Now for an update. Jennifer recently saw pictures on my Facebook and Instagram and blew up at me. She accused me of alienating my brother and niece from the family, and that I'm being malicious by excluding them. I argued back that it seems like they don't want anything to do with me or my family anyway, and that I was saving them the time and effort of ignoring my invitations by simply not inviting them. Now I'm getting called petty by some of my aunts and uncles. My grandpa even called to ask me why I'm excluding my niece from family events. So I'm now feeling incredibly guilty for not at least going through the motions of inviting them to my hosted events. My mother is on my side, as are 6 of my 8 siblings. So, am I the one in the wrong for refusing to include my brother and sister-in-law in family events that I host? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. List every instance and keep them serious and stick to facts. Don't write down petty ones. And then list every invitation they were sent that they ignored. Then send the list around to every aunt, uncle, brother, sister, in-law, everyone. Explain that you will not be giving 2 people repeated chances to disrespect you, nor will you do so for the sake of supposed family unity, especially when the 2 supposed victims very obviously don't care about the family unity. That the only reason this has become an issue is because Jennifer knows her alienation of the family looks bad, and she is attempting to play the victim. That unlike your parents, you won't be bribing her to pretend to care and show up to do the bare minimum. She made this a family issue, so make sure the entire family gets all the facts in black and white. If that upsets her, then good. It further proves she is being malicious. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Make it very clear that their behavior is unacceptable and disrespectful to the extreme, and list those for them. If they want to be a member of the family and treat it as such, they should probably act the part more than just on occasion. Until such time as they do so, they will not be given a second thought by you. To hell with what uncles and aunts say. You have the majority of your nuclear family who deals with these people on a regular basis on your side. I had to have a conversation with a close family member once, and I told them the secret to being the favorite: just show up and be helpful. It isn't hard. It isn't magic. If they aren't willing to do it, then they can suffer the consequences of their selfish actions. If she has issues, mental or otherwise, then she is the one isolating your brother, and he is enabling her. That should stop if she is upset about it. Now, for the update. I'm in a complicated situation with my brother and sister-in-law, and things just got worse. I don't know what to do. So a week after the whole family gathering thing, I get this text from my mom about a family dinner for my dad's birthday, which, I guess they were still celebrating. The dinner was set for Saturday at this Italian place that we used to go to for every family event. I got there early on Saturday to help decorate and all that stuff. The place was covered in balloons, and I made this huge birthday banner. I thought it looked pretty good, not gonna lie. As people started to show up, I noticed my mom was acting all weird and tense, but of course I didn't want to ask. Then my brother and sister-in-law came in, dragging their little daughter with them. As soon as they walked in, my sister-in-law went straight for the dessert table, not even saying hi to anyone. I greeted my brother and their daughter, but he was super cold and not really friendly. We all sat down to eat, and everyone was chatting away, but they were just in their own world or something. I tried to include them in this funny story about a family vacation, but my sister-in-law cut me off, saying she didn't want to hear about trips that excluded her. That hurt. They didn't get excluded from anything. They just didn't want to come. After we ate, my mom suggested a toast, and everyone raised their glasses. My brother stood up first, but his toast felt like a total jab at me. He went on about how family is all about support and togetherness while staring me down. Then my niece asked if she could show everyone her new dance moves, so she started dancing. I noticed my brother whispering something to my sister-in-law, and she rolled her eyes. So rude. Once my niece was done dancing, my brother said they had to leave because it was getting late, and my mom tried to get them to stay longer, but they were like, "No, we gotta go." As they were leaving, my sister-in-law threw me this look that felt like a total challenge. After everyone left, my mom pulled me aside and said she was worried about the family's dynamics and suggested having a family meeting to clear the air. I agreed to think about it, but I wasn't sure. The next day, I called my mom and suggested we just meet at the park for a picnic instead of some stiff, formal meeting. I thought it would be more relaxed and easier to talk about stuff. I spent hours cooking and packing up this picnic basket with food. When I got to the park, everyone was there, but my brother and sister-in-law were super late. When they finally showed up, the vibe was like totally off. I opened the discussion about our relationship, and my brother talked about how he was hurt over the wedding situation. He didn't realize how much it affected me. My sister-in-law admitted that her actions were partly because she felt overwhelmed and didn't know how to deal with everything going on. The conversation got more intense, and we all started sharing our feelings about the family dynamics. It got deep, but in a good way. We agreed to work on our relationships moving forward, which I thought was a step in the right direction. We even planned to meet up again next month. Edit. Since the picnic, things have improved. My brother and sister-in-law have been more responsive. We've attended a few events together. They also apologized for their past absences, which felt genuine. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.